Hi, welcome to another Consult ROI podcast. I've got Charles Reed here from Get Payroll. This man is a Marine veteran, and I almost got you there, but he does a variety of payroll services and CPA services, and we're just here to talk about kind of what the highest ROI is in your life and what's led to the success that you've had in your own company. So pleasure to have you, Charles. Introduce yourself.
Cameron, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Well, I'm Charles Reed. I founded Get Payroll 30 years ago, but I'm an old Iowa boy. I grew up in Davenport, Iowa, graduated from high school, went in the Marine Corps, spent 4 years, 2 years overseas, a combat tour in Nam. Came back, was stationed in Kansas City, met my wife, Ruth, married her. She had 5 kids when I married her. I claim insanity, but found that my military experience was not understood to be valuable in the business world. Went to college, got my degrees, my BBA, my MBA, sat for and passed my exam while still in CPA exam while still in graduate school. Went to work for Texas Instruments, worked for other corporations, minor and major, for 15 years before I realized I never was going to run a major corporation. I didn't have the political skills. I was unwilling to stab people in the back and toss them off the ladder. So 30 years ago, Ruth and I started our own company. And here we are after 30 years. Ruth's passed away, but I'm still going at it on a daily basis.
Awesome. Well, and that does touch on a variety of different the skills and understanding, or kind of having that humility that what your initial goal is and where you end up is not always the same thing, but it doesn't mean that that is any less valuable, right? I'm sure that it actually played in your benefit in a lot of regards, because in the corporate world, as you said, you kind of lose your soul in a lot of aspects, and you also don't really have that ability to orient your schedule around family and the things that are really important in life. So it's always important to kind of have that realization. It's like, okay, what do I want, and really what do I need to do to pivot and understand that you can have the best of both worlds, right? You can still have successful business and have the other aspect without being deeply involved into certain scenes, if you will. So what? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, absolutely. My childhood was strange. My father was a Navy guy, reserve, served World War II, had his own business. I was in swimming and drama and other things, athletics, and all through high school. My father never attended a single event, not one. Boy Scouts, everything. He never attended any one. So when I married Ruth and had 5 kids all of a sudden, I tried to attend all of them and did as long as they lived at the house, as long as they were at home. I chaperoned things. I did campouts. I was there for practices. I was there for games and performances and so on, because I felt that was important, because it was something I missed in my life. So we can learn from past things. That was an early one I learned from. I wasn't going to be my father in that situation. I learned other things from him. He was a great businessman and formed his own business and was successful. But he lacked some things as a father, and he lacked them from his father as well, which is part of it. And I learned that later in life. Was abused as a child, and not sexually, but physically. His father was a huge disciplinarian. So my kids, I treated entirely differently, and they appreciate it now.
Well, it's always great to take the things that you or the lessons that you wish you could have learned from an earlier age, try to instill those values, but at the same time understand that, okay, there's a certain line you just don't cross, right? It's okay to discipline, but there's another thing when that discipline crosses on to abuse.
Yep.
Right?
I agree.
So I 100% get that. So what would you consider to be the highest ROI in your life? What have you invested into, whether that's time, again, money, resources, or whatever, that's provided you the most joy, clarity, or success and fulfillment?
When I was 21 years old, I married my wife. We got married at the base chapel. I was still in the Marine Corps. So we got married at Rich-Gabar Air Force Base, just outside of Kansas City, Missouri. We used the Air Force chaplain. Ruth's friend's mother made her dress. The rings and the flowers were probably $70 in total. That was without a doubt the best thing I ever did in my life, was marry Ruth. We were married for 45 years before she passed. Everything else pales in comparison to a long and happy marriage. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. And we loved each other, and we cared for each other. We raised the kids. We built the business. We built the big house. We did all those things together. We traveled together. We did lots of things. And that was the best thing I've ever done in my life. And I highly recommend a good marriage to everybody. Marriage, of course, is the biggest differentiation between poverty and not poverty, is marriage. Two can't live as cheap as one, but it's close. Anyway, that was the best thing I ever did. And for that $70, the reward was a million times over.
No, that's awesome. So what would you say was the greatest key to that successful and happy marriage that was able to endure? And then also the other flip side of that is, how did that contribute to the success that you currently have?
Well, it's always been not always, but I learned that my feeling is the key to a good marriage is communication and compromise. You've got to talk to each other. You've got to communicate effectively. And then compromise. If it's real important to her that it's done a certain way and not important to you, do it her way. What do you care? If it's important to you and not important to her, do it your way. If it's not important to each other, toss a coin. The only real problem comes in is if you let something be really important to both of you and you have different opinions, and that's lack of communication. I always say marriage should come with possession. So if we come to a loggerheads on that, you get to make the decision this time, and next time I get to make the decision. And so everybody's going to be careful about making that decision and losing the next choice. And Ruth was a people person. Ruth taught me a lot of things about people and style. I come from the military. My father was Navy, and we had a plan of the day in the upstairs hallway. That kind of thing. And then 4 years in the Marine Corps, discipline and hierarchical. And business is not hierarchical. In the Marine Corps, as in most military services, you either jump for the other guy or he jumps for you. Everybody is on a list, and you're superior or inferior to everybody. Well, in business, it doesn't work that way. If you treat your staff that way in business, you're going to be a sole proprietor with an empty room. If you treat your customers that way, you're not going to have any. So you've got to learn people skills and how to deal with people and how to listen to them and communicate and understand and compromise. Ruth, everybody loved Ruth. Even people she didn't like considered her their best friend. The biggest question she ever got was, why'd she marry a schmuck like me? But, it worked for us. So she taught me so much over so many years. She was my HR department when we went into business. She chose people. I'd present them and she'd go yes or no. And the one time I said, well, no, we're going to hire this person anyway, I regretted it. So I learned that she had much better skills in that than I did. And that led me to understand that I needed other people in business that had skill sets that were better than mine. I can't market my way out of a paper bag. So I've got a marketing department now, and they do a great job. I've got a guy in operations that's just fabulous. I've got a detailed analytical person who handles the banking and the tax deposits and the filings. She's fabulous at it. So I've surrounded myself with good people, and that's made us be able to grow because you can't do it all by yourself. In the beginning, you wore all the hats, and you can see what that's done to my head. So I hand them out whenever possible to other competent people, and that's good. It's good. It's good for business.
No, that's a good point, is to play to everybody's strengths. And I found whenever you are, your relationship with your employees are almost a lot of like a relationship with a wife, where you do need to compromise, you need to be understanding, you need to be able to take the position that you could be wrong and make sure that they feel valued in that. And then you never make a decision out of anger or emotion, right?
No.
You always step back, and I've always had to. So military, you kind of just say it how you see it, and you swear and cuss people in their face, right? If they make an idiot, then you definitely get punished for it, right? It's like a clear ultimatum that you make sure you don't do it again. But that's not a productive or healthy relationship. I mean, that's honestly why I feel that a lot of mental illness exists in the military in general. It's just
Yes.
because that's what the result is. So one thing that I've had to even teach myself is, if I'm having a conversation and I'm already upset because they screwed up something, it cost me a ton of money, right? I might be really angry that there, but I need to step back. I'm like, okay, well, do we need to just, outright fire this person? Like, look at this. Was this an unintentional mistake? Was it an intentional screw up? And they've been taught numerous times. But either way, before I would say whatever I was going to, I would wait 10 seconds. And if I still felt like I had to say what was on my mind, then I would. But that 10 seconds kind of gave that buffer zone for me to just like, okay, you know what? Maybe that's wording it really harsh right now. Let's word it this way. How do you think that we could have done this better? And how can we avoid this issue in the future or going forward? Right.
Absolutely. When I first got married, I learned that if I got into an argument, I went for a walk. I walked around the block, sometimes twice. Uh, and that allowed me to calm down and think more rationally. And I do that with my staff, with my clients. I will say, let me get back to you. With the staff, there's Deborah, who's been with me 20 plus years. Um, my work wife, if you wish. Okay, we worked very closely and have for many years. For years, we because she has the best interest of the company at heart. She's part owner now. We get into discussions, and one of us would walk out. And, more than once she's gone home for the day. More than once I've gone home for the day. We haven't done that probably in 8 or 10 years now, because we've gotten better at compromising and better at communicating. But yes, that pause is always an excellent thing, because if you say something in anger, in rage, it's not right. It's going to be wrong almost every time. You've got to be measured when you're dealing with people, whether it be your wife, your employees, your clients, your vendors, whatever. You've got to be measured and logical.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so key to not only being more successful in business, but to make decisions that you don't end up regretting, right? Because let's be honest, it's not just for them. It is for you, your reputation, and a lot of other things. Because when I word things, and even when I chime into things that I probably shouldn't have, I think naturally, men in general like to fix things, right? Even if they don't really want it fixed, it's that conversation. So it's the wait 10 seconds and then, okay, she's just saying something to get it off her chest. I don't need to chime in. I need to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, there's times, and with your wife, with your spouse, with your employees, with customers, sometimes they just need to vent.
Yeah.
and you can't respond, you just go, okay, okay, all right, and just let them vent. And many times they'll get to a point and they'll go, I'm sorry, I just had to get it out. I apologize, so on and so forth, because they vented, they let their anger out. And if you respond to it, you're going to lose a wife, you're going to lose employees, you're going to lose clients for no good reason, because they didn't take the 10 seconds. So take the 10 seconds for them. No big deal.
Well, I think it's cool because it allows when you, I think especially if you're feeling attacked, right? It's easy to respond defensively,
It is.
aggressively back, and then immediately like, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? But taking that pause between those intentional, I think that's the key, is the intentional pause and break to allow them to also think their own words through, allows them to maybe counteract or explain it better, or to give a better explanation so you can truly get their true intention. Because when we're saying things based on emotion, you understand that it might get heated either way. But it's always our individual responsibility to always try to be the bigger person and allow and create that dedicated pause space so you can have a productive conversation instead of that emotional one. So I definitely see that that's a vital skill in business,
Yes,
in any aspect of business and relationships.
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Charles, for providing so much value here and that. But I'll just let you kind of express your final thoughts and then also get your information. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, whether that's about payroll services, tax it, filing, or anything else, that they're able to do that. So,
Not a problem. I normally have two things that I like to relate to people that I think are important in business. One is there's never a traffic jam on the extra mile. If you go the extra mile for your clients, you will succeed because your competitors won't go that extra mile. And then both business and personally, and this one I've stolen from Bill Gates. People, men, women, will overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. So long term, don't, it's life, work, business, marriage. It's not a sprint, guys. It's a marathon. It takes time. Go with it.
well, 100%. And that gets into a whole nother can of worms of why people are always going into whether it's marriage or business and that they're like, well, if it doesn't work out, I can always get another one, right? Or another partner, and that's just the wrong mentality to have. Always invest for the long-term result. So I
Absolutely.
key. So thank you so much for providing so much value and gold nuggets here. It was an honor to have you on here, and we will definitely try to see if we can get you on here again. So, all right.
My pleasure, Cameron. It was a pleasure being with you today. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining on the Consult ROI podcast. I hope you gained a lot of value and we're taking notes. Again, feel free to reach out to Charles here. Where would you like them to reach out to you?
Get Payroll, CJR at Get Payroll is my email. Feel free. Love to talk to you.
All right, awesome. Thanks and have a great day.